welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show, but we're not going to go quite live yet. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little mini discussion before we go live. So give me just a second, okay? So tell me, what is your goals for like this show, Matthew? What are your goals?
It's to feed, educate, and entertain your audience.
And since I'm having trouble with going on live with Facebook, give me a second. That's why I paused. That's why I'm glad I went live so I won't have that hiccup. There we go. And now, okay. So, and I appreciate you. And what do you plan on getting? Like, okay, I know what you plan on getting out of it, but what do you want me to do as, being like a host? I want to give you the most out of being a good host for you. And I am. It's just that I'm getting warmed up, learning your character and your personality and everything. So I just wanted to know, you've been on CNN and you've been in the People's Magazine, right? Can you tell me a little bit about that before we go fully live in the next 4 minutes?
I had worldwide press with some companies that I created back in Los Angeles when I was living there. So I was able to get into places like People Magazine and New Business Opportunities and ABC and CBS and, I don't know, so many different places. So yeah, it's just about being an entrepreneur and knowing how to market yourself. And so that was what I was doing in my early days. And prior to that, I was on the road with Fleetwood Mac, Eagles, and Pink Floyd right out of high school.
The Eagles. Oh my God, that rang a bell to me. I used to love that song, that one song that they played. Dun, 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 dun. I forgot how I go, but yeah, I loved it. I cannot believe you were able to be around those greats, man. Like seriously. So before we got like less than 4 minutes. So, I just feel like right now, my goal is to get as much information sucked out of you. I'm gonna dissect as much as I can about you, and I'm going to go from top to bottom, and then whatever questions I have in between, and like you said, I'll elaborate on what questions I have, but I'm going to go into everything you've ever done, and I'm going to talk about that. Now, sometimes I'll pop up with a question and I'll be like, what's the question? Like, boom, the question. So I don't want you to get annoyed by me, but I just want you to know that, it's an honor to have you on my show, and this is what I do. I want to do one last thing because I don't want nothing distracting us. So while we're live here, I want to shut my door before we go fully live, and we're going to start all over. And I'm going to say, welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. Give me just 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. 2 minutes and counting. Everything is live on my end. Okay. So, yeah. So, what's the temperature there in Honolulu, Matthew?
It's always the same here. It's so boring.
Yes, it is. But at least you got the heat and it rains every now and then. But yeah, it was so beautiful there. I went to the museum there downtown with my son. I also had a tea ceremony. I was going to HPU. 1 minute. I was going to HPU and I was at the Hickam base and I was studying like logic and everything. It was so crazy, but I loved it every moment. 30 seconds. Hold on.
What are you drinking there, Kimberly?
Smoothie.
Nice.
Banana peanut butter smoothie with whey protein and KCAA or some type of energy boost. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
30 seconds. Thank you for being a good sport, Matthew.
Oh,
Seriously,
no problem. This is fun. Let's just have fun.
cool. I hate dead silence. 10 seconds. 10 seconds. Okay. 9, 8, 5. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hey, Kimberly. Thank you for having me. My name is Matthew Gray, and I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii. Aloha.
Aloha to you too. So I wanted to talk about some things. Usually with all my guests, I talk about their past leading up into your present, however far you want to go back. But just give us the specifics and I will dig into everything you said.
Oh, I'd love for you to dig away. I was born in New York. My family moved to Los Angeles when I was 10 years old. They didn't tell me right away, but I caught up with them eventually. And then in the early 90s, I moved here to Hawaii, and I've been here ever since.
Wow, 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 wow. Now we're going to have to talk a little bit more about everything you ever done. You tell me about once more. Tell me about 50 Taste of Gray. What does that like? What is that? A podcast? Some people don't know from the world who that is, what that represents. Tell me
50
more.
Tastes 50 Tastes of Grey is my latest venture. It's a podcast. It's available on YouTube and all of the major podcast carriers. It's a very food forward show, but it's also sexy, intelligent, and psychological. And we talk about everything in life worth loving. And I think you'd have a really good time if you gave it a listen.
Wow, yes. Go give 50 Taste of Gray a listen, y'all. It's amazing. So I want to dissect everything that you ever did. Tell me in so many words about you being a culinary artist, your skills.
My mom was a really good housewife type of cook when I was a little kid, and I used to watch her all the time, every single day. And I was very interested in food and flavor and color and plate architecture and the aroma of all the things that she was creating. And so I learned my love for food as a little child, watching mom do her thing and then getting to eat all that great food. So it kind of rolled and progressed throughout my whole entire life. And eventually I became a chef. And there were a lot of steps in between, but that's probably what pushed me into the culinary arts.
What is the most difficult plate you ever had to make, Mike Matthew?
Wow. I've cooked for everybody. Uh, from rock and roll stars to movie stars and so on. And the food comes easy. It's the interaction and the exchange between myself and the people I'm cooking for that can sometimes be a little bit tricky. But if you love something and you ask me to make it for you, I will do that and it will be delicious.
Okay, and tell me about you being a metabolic health maestro.
Well, Kimberly, half the people who are watching us or listening to us right now are either obese, overweight, have type 2 diabetes, or about to become diabetic. So I once upon a time had type 2 diabetes, but I learned through modern science there are ways to reverse that disease. And it has to do with knowing about metabolic health and the right foods to eat and that kind of thing. So I did it for myself. I learned the modern science, and now I help people overcome that for themselves. So you get off your meds, you get away from the type 2 diabetes, you lose the weight, and you become healthy.
Okay, and what if somebody is like, I'm not talking about me or other people, that's in my life, but what if they're on depressants or, certain medications they can't get off, possibly can't get off, because it doesn't matter what medication, you can always get off one and maintain a healthier lifestyle. Tell me more about what would their progress be with getting off of medications?
You talking about diabetic patients?
either diabetic or people that gain weight for taking even the like birth control or something, people gain weight from almost any type of medicine shoved it down their throat to me. And if they got off of it, I feel like right now they would probably be better off losing weight like you did, I guess.
I think the most important thing really we need to look at, Kimberly,
Yeah.
is diet, what you're putting in your mouth. And that makes most of the difference in the world. Notice how I didn't say all the difference in the world, but
I love it.
you cannot blame medicine, you cannot blame your neighbor, and you cannot blame your parents as to why you're heavy, overweight, obese, or diabetic. It's all about what you're doing. And I think that the most primary cause is what people are eating. They're eating the wrong food and they're eating way too often.
I remember yesterday I went to a place called I won't say the name, but I went to this one place restaurant and they had a cheeseburger. It was really, I haven't ate like this in years, but a cheeseburger and french fries. And I was like, wow. And I spoke with a physical therapist and nutritionist that told me it's chemicals in the oils and the fats that make us get high, like our senses go off. Is that true?
Yes, there's a lot of what you might call crack that medical scientists put into the food supply because they want it to become addictive. So that's part of how the whole thing works. And that's why people go to fast food restaurants. And that's why when you grow up, you have these cravings that you can't understand, but you just succumb to them. And it has to do with a lot of the flavor science that is out there and the reasons why people keep going back.
Is there any good medications that's natural herbal, like for instance, because I have to know, I went to a Chinese herb shop and I got two things. I got some laxatives type stuff and I got some brain chemicals to help my brain activate a little bit better and memory. So I feel like it's working, but here's the deal. Like, I was wondering if there's anything that's on the market now that's American, possibly. Not saying I don't like Asians or any of that, but I'm just saying, is there anything on the market that's American made that we could invest into to help our brains, our heart health, our gut health? Because the gut talks to us all the time. What is your interpretation on that, sir?
Well, you asked me specifically about supplements or medications, and that's not my field of
It is true.
specialty. My field and specialty is food. And I believe strongly, utilizing modern science, that almost all your ailments, whether it's your memory or your gut, can be helped and healed by eating right. Let's take your gut, for instance.
Yes.
I ferment vegetables at my home. I make my own sauerkraut. It's really good for the gut microbiome to be able to have lactobacillus. And that's a way that you create that at home is by fermenting vegetables. And so eating anything that's fresh without chemicals, uh, that's not processed, is going to be better for you and will improve your health.
Well said, Matthew. So, okay, now that leads me to my next question. What's the difference between sauerkraut and the kimchi that is made over in Korea? Like, is there a difference? Because they're both
Kim,
fermented.
they're both fermented, and kimchi has the Korean red pepper in it. So it's a very spicy version of what we call sauerkraut.
Mm.
So American or German sauerkraut is just cabbage and salt. And kimchi has the addition of the Korean red pepper to add some spiciness to it. As far as its lactobacillus compound and its ability to be good for your gut health, they're both equal. So if you like it, it's good for you. It's definitely good for your tummy.
Well said. I'm going to check that out. So, tell me about you being, moving on, tell me about you being an entrepreneurial guru.
Because I've had so many businesses throughout my life, I learned how to be able to create uh, a world where creatives and entrepreneur business people can kind of work together. So I was creative when I was really, really young, but then I had to learn business to be able to be the perfect match. So After learning that for myself and running a lot of businesses and also having a lot of failures along the way, I now am at a point in my life where I can help others who are very creative, who want to start businesses, but have no idea how to do that. So that's what that's all about.
Wow, giving a little bit of insight about startups to success. How much does it cost to put down on a startup, by the way?
Depends on what you're doing. So some startups you can almost do on a shoestring, but the chances of doing something on a shoestring is very small, much smaller nowadays than it used to be. And then, of course, there are startups that are tech startups or AI startups, which cost maybe hundreds of millions of dollars. So every different startup is something different. You could be a house cleaner and get started with a couple $100, or you could be a car maker who's going to need a few $1 billion. So it really depends on what field you've chosen.
Do you think angel investing is worth it?
To the investor or to the person who's
The
being
person
taken care of by the angel?
to the person that is investing for the angel investment.
I'm going to have to say it's probably worth it. I think that angel investors are people with a lot of money who, for the most part, if they become successful and are continuing to be an angel investor, they've had some modicum of success in doing so. So they might be gamblers, but they're smart gamblers. And so if you're an angel investor, you're probably doing pretty well.
Okay. And like when you're doing startups like in AI, do you have to I don't you don't have to answer this if you don't know it, but I was wondering because you know a lot about guiding people with startups. So my question goes like this: for AI setups, you may need, like you said, a few million to a couple of more $1 million. But could you get someone to actually pick up on the artificial intelligence for free and they loan you the money that you're trying to put into that artificial intelligence technology? Because I have so many things that I want to do with artificial intelligence. And we are in Web 3, moving on soon to Web 4. So that's why I was wondering, what is your insight?
There's so many computer science people out there who are experts and they really know this stuff. That is definitely not my field of expertise, even though I do utilize AI technology in my editing and in my writing and things that I do. But, computer science people would be the right people to ask about that.
I definitely will. And another question, like, do you do if you wanted to help somebody out there right now that is sitting up there, they want to do a startup to success like you do, what would be step one to finding you and how they can, you know, do everything with you, you know, every step of the way, baby steps and everything?
I'm really easy to reach. So if you love your life or you want to love your life, you should go to lovelife.com because that's my website, lovelife.com. You could reach me. People can call me or email me. And if they have any questions about their business or about what they're eating or whether they want to reverse diabetes or whether they'd like to lose weight, there are a lot of things that I could help you with. And of course, recipes.
Okay. And what is a conversational craftsman?
Excuse me?
A conversational craftsman? What is that? You have it in bold.
You're talking about, oh, from my bio. Well,
Yes.
I've been doing talk radio since the 80s, so that's something that I really like to do. So not only am I a writer and a speaker, but I also do interviews like what you're doing right now and have been for a long, long time.
Yes. Tell me about one of your interviews and how it went, like with maybe the beginning of your very first interview, and then you can move off to your middle interview if you remember it, or we can just do your first and your last, or before me, your last interview, and how those things has changed and what you have learned from those.
Well, I've done a lot of different types of radio in the old days. One of my first shows was Matthew, the Primetime Chef. And I did that in Los Angeles at a show at a radio station called K Rock. And what we did was we took phone calls from listeners who tried to stump me with food related questions. And if they had a very compelling reason why I should leave the radio station right then and there and drive to their house and cook for them, that would be the winner for the night. And I would do just that. I would leave the radio station, drive to someone's house, cook for them, and then we'd finish up the radio show on the radio, but over the telephone. This was before the internet. So that was one of the very first things I used to do in radio.
Wow. And tell me about before me, your last interview, what you've been doing on the radio. What did you do?
I just interviewed a tech guy who has a very popular channel on YouTube. His name is Nico, and the name of his show is Nico Knows Tech. And so I interviewed Nico, and he was great. Great personality. He lives in Costa Rica, and he's a computer tech, and he's got a really, really famous channel right now. He's probably got about 70,000 subscribers.
Wow, that is awesome. Yes. Nico, the tech guy. That is awesome. You know, that is amazing, the things that you done put on, and you done performed, you done all types of stuff, and you work closely obviously with people in LA and things. So that's amazing. And the next question is, tell me about you being a literary servant.
Literary servant. Is that on my bio?
I swear to God it is. I'm gonna edit all this out, but yes, sir. It says literary servant, penny insights with a flair.
That is definitely not my bio. You're not reading my bio.
It says, I'm swear to God, Matthew. It says Matthew Gray, a palette of skills. You said culinary artist, metabolic health maestro, entrepreneur guru, conversational craftsman, literary servant.
Literary servant might have to do with the fact that I've written books and I've been writing articles and stories my entire life. But yeah, whoever put together the bio used an interesting word because servant doesn't sound correct to me. But am I a writer? Yeah, I was a food writer for the Honolulu Advertiser, and I also write for my blog on lovelife.com. And I've helped ghostwrite some books and also some screenplays. So would I call myself a servant? No.
No.
But would I call myself a writer? Yes.
Yes. Okay. It says savant. My bad. My
Savant. The word
savant.
is
See,
savant.
I'm reading. Yes, I never heard of the word, so I apologize. It's not.
Okay, a savant is someone who has a knack for something, who's good at something, who's maybe a little bit more special in a certain area. So that was the word that you were reading, not servant, savant.
We know. We definitely understand that, and my apologies. So moving on, we got media concierge, connoisseur. You got some highlighted words, Mr. Gray. I know how to read, but these words are so different to me and foreign, but I love to learn. So I'm working with it and I'm doing my best. So bear with me. So it says connoisseur, a journalist with a taste for truth, and you're really the truth. And it's still an honor to have you on my show. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
The word is connoisseur, and that
Connoisseur.
means somebody who really knows their stuff when it comes to food or anything else. If you are a connoisseur of music or art or architecture, you are a specialist. You are someone who knows what they're talking about.
Wow. So you know the media a little bit. So you're a journalist, and what where have you worked in a whole with everything you ever did? What places have you worked where you were a journalist at?
My most recent experience was being the food writer and restaurant reviewer for Hawaii's largest newspaper called the Honolulu Advertiser.
Yes, that's very hard to get into. So yeah. Okay.
Best job in the world.
It
Being
is.
paid to eat, living in Hawaii. Come on, nothing
Yes,
better.
yes, I agree.
Except what I left that for, which was even better.
I wanted to ask you another question. I wanted to know, other than sauerkraut that you said is good for the gut, what other, tools do you use to, like, help with gut health? Because I cut gut health, because it's like, for instance, I read somewhere where the gut talks to you, to the brain all the time. It communicates, and when you get nervous, the gut is telling, releasing chemicals, telling the brain, "Hey, look, I'm nervous." But that's like a scientist thing. So I'll condense it down to this: what is good foods that you can absorb in your stomach that help naturally, foods with digestive tract, with the digestive tract?
Good question, Kimberly. And yes, there is a connection between the gut and the brain, is what we've found out over these past few years. So that's a great question. Probably my best advice to anybody who's considering trying to get their health together related to their food world would be to eat less processed food and eat no carbs, or at least way fewer than they are today.
Okay. And I see that, thank you, by the way. I see that you're an innovator of menu. Um, Tell me, of menus, plural. Tell me about you designing dishes that delight.
You know, when you walk into a restaurant, if the menu is not written well and it looks all plain, it's probably not going to jazz you up very much. So, what I've done over the years is I've helped design menus, but you also have to have the recipes to be able to create the dishes that you're writing about. So, menu design is oftentimes a writing experience, a descriptive one that utilizes the knowledge that a writer might have, but that coincides and works with the kitchen and the ingredients and the dishes that they can make from it. So it all kind of works together. The most successful enterprises in the food world have people who are specialists in a lot of different areas.
Okay. And it's just, you've made special dishes for band members. Tell me about those band members and what dishes you've made.
Everything you could possibly think of. When I was on the road with the Eagles, Pink Floyd, Fleetwood Mac, bands like that, these people are just like you and me. They have certain desires. And, being a personal chef, they would ask me to make whatever it is that they wanted, and I would do it. Sometimes at 2 in the morning, flaming cherries jubilee, or it could be meatloaf at 2 in the afternoon. So it just, they don't have a different palate than us. They just have the ability to eat whatever it is they want at any time. So that's kind of a cool thing.
Yes. What is flaming cherries jubilee?
Well, it's a flambéed dish of cherries with a little bit of brandy, and you put it over vanilla ice cream, let's say, and then you light a match to it, and it flames up, and it's very visual, and it's pretty delicious.
Wow. Wow. So on a dark desert highway, the cool wind in your hair, you sat up there and you had the smell of colitas. Okay.
Hey,
So
way to grab some good lyrics, Kimberly. Excellent.
thank you. So the next one is idea generator. Tell me about that. You said it says igniting passion with projects. You have so much you can contribute to the world, Matthew Gray. And it's amazing the things that you do. And that's why I'm dissecting it, because I just want them to hear in your words what you do and how you do it.
I have too much going on, don't I? Um,
No,
but
it's like
when
a dish with all, the steak, the potatoes, and the greens. It's all
right,
combined.
You know, with me, it's sort of like I have to keep it simple because there's just so much out there. But, everybody has desires. Everybody has different skill sets. Everybody has different things that they're good at or that they'd like to be. We all have different dreams. So if someone can kind of express to me where they'd like to go, what they'd like to do, I'm a good person to ask that too, because I can help guide them, give them a roadmap as to how they can make that happen.
Do you do webinars or any of that, like with 15 or more people? I know you probably have in the past, but do you do it now currently, or have you been on a TEDx speaking event?
I've done a lot of public speaking over the years, and anytime that I'm invited to do that, I'm happy to do so. And part of why I'm doing the 50 Tastes of Gray podcast is because it gives me access to the world just like this.
Yes, yes. Tell me about an excerpt from 50 Tastes of Grey that you talked about on the radio before.
You know, if you went to YouTube and you looked up 50 Tastes of Gray, there's
Yes.
so much interesting information. I've had chefs, designers, strippers, comedians, you name it, I've had it. And so the people just keep on coming. And my specialty is to not necessarily talk about my guests' specialties, but to just put them through my little question and answer stage and try to extract as much interest and interesting, colorful information from them.
Oh, that is pretty cool. I like that expression. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. How much fan bases? How much is your fan base, by the way?
Pretty new, just started 50 Tastes of Gray at the beginning of this year. Probably have 300 something
Good.
subscribers.
Good.
And you
Organic.
know a lot of building a channel is continued marketing and efforts other than just this looking into a camera and speaking to someone across the way. So a lot of my time is spent trying to learn skills and become better at marketing.
Okay. Okay. And you are a life coach too, right?
I do help people with making the next step, like I mentioned before. So I don't like to use that word. I've kind of thrown the word coach out ever since COVID because everybody has become a coach. And you got 20-year-old kids who want to tell me how to spend my money. And you got digital nomads everywhere, left and right. It's like, so the word coach for me belongs in sports, not so much in life.
I have a question for you since you're still hanging out in Honolulu or Oahu. I just have to know, is your there is a nice shop. I forgot what it's called. It's a Hawaiian place that cooks their pigs and houses them underneath the ground for like 12 hours and let them rotate. And all the stars, like you and maybe Fleetwood Mac and the rest of the guys, they go there, and all the superstars go to that, and it's very small in there. Once you get it'd be a line around the door, and once you get in, it's just like at least 6 tables, and you can have the koala pig or something. Is that place still up and running?
It is. Kalua pig is the smoked pig that's originally and initially wrapped in tea leaves and banana leaves and put into a hole in the ground with coals and all of that, and then covered with dirt. And like you said, for many, many hours, it cooks beneath the ground. So it's smoky pig and it's delicious. It's very, very important dish for Hawaii. And the place that you're thinking of, gosh, it's
It's
slipping my mind at the moment, but they're in the Wahiwa, like the
yes.
central portion of Oahu, and they've been around forever. And I can't believe I'm not plugging in with them right now as far as their name, but yeah, they're still there, and that is genuine Hawaiian. And when I was running Hawaii food tours for all those years, we took our guests to that every single day. And I'm blanking on it right now, but yep, it's delicious and it's still there.
Wow. Okay. And like, how many places are that's in housed in Oahu have you been to already? obviously it's more than 50.
As far as the restaurants,
Yes, that you've been able to taste and grab a bite from.
oh my gosh, Kimberly, we can't count that high. Remember, I was the restaurant reviewer for Hawaii's largest newspaper for years and years before I started Hawaii Food Tours, which took people to restaurants for 16 more years. So, yeah, I've been to many, many, many hundreds and hundreds, if not more, of the restaurants and eateries here.
Have you ever thought about, I mean, you are considered international because you're way out there. You're like 4 hours or 5 hours behind me right now. So what I wanted to know was like, are you planning on doing something like a skit where you go international around the world? I know you've been around. I know you've been around the world before, but do like your international shot where you go around the world meeting people like Japanese, in any type of Asian, Vietnamese, Korean, Chinese, and whoever else, and then going somewhere European, Germany. Like, have you ever thought about that?
Well, I've kind of done that,
I knew it. I knew it.
travel has been a very important issue and part of my life, and it's something I love to do, and it's deeply in internally inside me, and it's something that I've enjoyed, whether it's Europe, America, Hawaii, or otherwise. So, yeah, it's a really important thing. When you get to break bread with somebody from far away, you get to learn about their culture and their history, their art, their architecture, and their people. There's nothing better.
Tell me this then. This is another question. You have breakfast. What is your favorite breakfast food wherever around the world, and your favorite dinner food from wherever and around the world? And why do you choose those two for breakfast and dinner?
Hmm. Well, nowadays, my favorite breakfast food is what I eat. And it's not about favorite, it's about what I consider delicious and healthy. So, bacon, eggs, avocado, cheese, you know, it's like that's old world, right?
Yes.
Um, now, in the old days, I'd eat all the same crap everybody else does. Uh, Cereal or pancakes or waffles or bread and things like that. But, that's not what I'm about anymore. And as far as the dishes that are in other countries, you know, in Asia, they eat noodles for breakfast. And in Europe, they have pastries and maybe a little bit of coffee for breakfast. So when you're traveling in a certain place, try to eat the best you can, but also you have to indulge yourself a little bit. So enjoy the local specialties. And that's what I always suggest to everybody. When you're traveling, throw away all your old ideas about what you want and try something local.
I love it. And how about the dinner foods? Can you name one like type of dinner food that was overseas that, really gave your taste buds a jump, whether you like it or eat it still now or not? Something from wherever.
If I could get my hands on some king crab right now, I would be all over it.
Whoa, where did you get that from? Where's that stemming from?
You can get king crab everywhere, but the best places to get it are in the very, very cold climates. So, sort of like Alaska and the North Atlantic. But nowadays, you can get king crab at Costco too.
True, true. But I get what you're saying. It tastes better because of the waters or whatnot, or however the reason. But I get what you're saying. And how did Matthew Gray creativity come? How did Matthew Gray turn into Matthew Gray? How did
Hmm.
like really? How did we see this intelligent, smart, funny, egocentric, and also very well taught, very well rounded, and very well spoken guy like you?
I don't know how that happened, Kimberly. Gonna have to ask my parents about that. I think it's really news to me. So
Did you press a button, Matthew? Or is this just a copy of you, Matthew? Like, we have to know.
I wish I had that button because I would share it with the world.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. So Matthew, tell me about a certain type of creative moment where you helped someone invent something, or not invent something, but work on their goals towards their business projects. Tell me about that.
What comes to mind first is that I had a friend a long time ago in Los Angeles, and she was a young photographer,
Mm-hmm.
but she didn't know how to make a living taking pictures. So I had an idea of putting artwork on exposed film and then running it through the developing machine. And we started a business together called Sublime Craftwork. And we made uh, interesting artwork and graphics pieces and greeting cards and things like that. And that helped launch her career.
Wow, I am so glad that she got her career launch.
Yep.
You know,
It
tell
was
me,
very abstract though. So
yeah,
unlike most photographers who are shooting things that when you see them, you know what it is,
yeah,
abstract art, you don't necessarily see what it is. You imagine what you're seeing. So it's a very curious kind of route for a photographer to take.
it's a very challenging route too, because some people don't get what she's doing, but what she's doing is pretty cool. You know, it's like taking a picture of a piece of somebody's skin that has like a birthmark on it, and then you see something out of it. Everybody sees something different, but then when you see the whole picture, you're like, wow, is that where that came from? So yeah, she's doing something pretty cool.
Yes.
Tell me about tantalizing Trader Joe's shop. Well, you tantalizing Trader Joe's shoppers with a chic eats.
I used to create delicious, gourmet, sexy finger food items for Trader Joe's. Things like stuffed strawberries and stuffed shrimp and salmon timbales with crab meat and all these high-end dessert and gourmet items. And I would supply them. Uh, we had a kitchen in Burbank where we made these gourmet items and sold them to the Southern California Trader Joe's.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So you had like your own sort of like packaged items that you created. Do you ever have your recipes at Trader Joe's? Because I would love to check that out at the Trader Joe's I go to.
I sold that business back in the 90s when I moved here. But if anyone is looking for recipes, you just contact me directly.
Well said. Okay. What is Sublime Craft Work?
Sublime Craftwork was that business I told you I helped the photographer with. She's a photographer, and we started doing artwork, and we
Yeah.
kind of gained a nice following. We were in art galleries and greeting card companies and things like that. So we were selling our abstract art.
Tell me about your People's Magazine and CNN, Matthew Gray.
I had a company called Pamper and Dine, which combined massage and fine dining in our clients' homes. So my partner was a masseuse. I'm the chef. We go into your home. She would massage you and your partner one at a time while I was downstairs in your kitchen preparing you a gourmet, delicious, customized dinner.
Wow. I wish I had your cheat code. So, Matthews, what is who? Oh, okay. Got that. And your wealth of experience, like it says in your writing, experience positions him as a beacon for those seeking guidance in achieving their dreams with savoring life flavors. Like seriously, that is so true. Take me down a historical chronicle of briefly things that we did not touch or I tried to touch on your professional journey.
Well, you kind of whispered by so many different places during this conversation, and I appreciate that. So I think, we've covered a lot of ground, and really, I'm at the point now where I can look over my shoulder and connect the dots behind me that took me to the place where I am right now. And so if anything, I'm at that place where people say the pay it forward stage. So I'm into and enjoy helping others.
Tell me about you being an author. I know you're a journalist. You were a journalist, or you still are. But tell me about you being an author. What is your book called, or what is it called? Yeah.
The latest book is called Ultimate Eater's Guide, Hawaii Edition.
Okay.
And that was based after all these years of running Hawaii food tours. And when COVID struck and crushed my business after 16 years, I decided, how can I still take care of guests who are coming here? And that would be to write a food guidebook. And so that's what I did. And that's the latest book. It's called The Ultimate Eater's Guide, Hawaii Edition.
And what have you actually learned about Hawaii? Don't do they have? I know that some of them speak English, and some of them speak a different language. Is that true?
Well, English is the primary language here.
Yeah.
However, there's also, you know, Hawaiian, of course. A
Yeah.
very, very small population still speaks Hawaiian, but it's a fading language, unfortunately, a dying language because intercultural marriages and things like that. And because you have that, the language has been kind of dwindling over the years. But you also have a lot of Asian cultures here. So Japanese, Vietnamese, Chinese. It's a very Asian world here, unlike most other places. When you come to Hawaii, you really feel like you're in a foreign land.
Yes, I wonder if those streets, the highways, still get backed up as usual, like for hours. If they having construction, you will be sitting there literally for 2 hours on the highway, and it's not like here. But do they still get backed up?
My friend David Page, the guy who created diners, drive-ins, and dives,
Mhm.
thinks that the traffic here in Honolulu is the worst traffic anywhere he's ever been.
I agree. If you leave out at the wrong time and you sit up there and go to take the highway, whether yeah, you take the highway, you are going to be stuck for 3 hours. I was coming home from downtown. I went to a tea ceremony, a Chinese or an Asian type tea ceremony where they were all dressed up in their finest Asian suits. And these women were so beautiful to me. They had their hair pinned up and the flip flops on, and I took my son there and we drank real green tea together. And I would never forget it. It's still on my MySpace page, but MySpace takes so long to pull up now. But anyway, getting to the point, we were coming home from visiting a museum and everything, and it was a backup of traffic. But it had to be 2 to 3 hours, and I was like, no, I wasn't irritated. I was just like, why is this happening? And it wasn't nothing but people, 5 lane highway, people merging onto one lane and didn't want to let each other over. And I was like, really? So I don't know. I don't know. But
You got to find your Zen place when you're in traffic, Kimberly.
yes, I did. I wasn't like doing nothing crazy, but I had a blast over there, and I'm glad that you're over there to help the culture of Hawaii grow. You know, you are a symbol, a symbolic person. You know, you help them find great foods to eat. You know how to cook great foods. You done created good foods, and you done made food from scratch that went to Trader Joe's, and it's like you done a lot on your list, and I feel you have a lot more to offer. Like you say, you are the brainchild. You are an amazing individual that is doing things. And speaking of that, where do you see yourself going in the future, Mr. Gray?
Hmm. You mean as far as travel or pleasure or a combination of work and business, or what
Everything.
exactly are you asking?
Food, food, travel, whatever you got going on in brainchild head. What do we want to see from you in the future? What are we going to see from you in the future?
Hopefully, more colorful conversation, great words to listen to and to read, good content like that. And hopefully you'll be hearing from people who tell you that, I helped them somewhere along the way.
Okay. I I I I really appreciate too. It's really a good honor that I've got to talk. I've talked to two people that's been on CNN already, and I've talked to Will Roberts and people like that. But I never got to talk to somebody that's actually been like in a mix in a food sort of sense. You're not an actor. You're an artist of food. You know, you're somebody that is an amazing character with a lot to give to the world. So, you know, what do you plan on doing more speaking engagements? Do you plan on doing like things like creating newer foods, healthier foods packaged up? Like that's why I asked what is going on in your mind because we got 4 minutes or 6 minutes left.
I don't think I would create a food for packaging because that would mean that it would be a processed food, and I'm not a believer in processed food. So if it has more than a couple few ingredients, I won't buy it. And I surely won't create something to be shelf stable because that would mean it would need preservatives or something along those lines. I'd rather teach people how to cook. I'd like to bring them into my kitchen or give them recipes or talk to them on a Zoom chat and help them learn how to learn some knife skills or recipe skills or how to make a good spice or how to make the best chicken or the best cookies. So that's what I would like to do with my future, just to be able to help people, whether it's business, in the kitchen, or their health. That kind of wraps it up for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And if the people needed to reach you, and I know you're easy to reach, and we just spoke about it before, but there's people coming on and off every time. And I have a small fan base of just 600 or more in certain channels. So I just wanted to know if the people needed to reach you, where would they reach you at, Mr. Gray?
I could give my phone number right now to your audience. Would you like that? Would that be the easiest way for people to reach me? Or my email address? What?
Yes. Yes, both.
Okay. Phone number is 808 389 8255. You can call that number anytime. And if I'm here, I'll pick it up. And if I'm out, I'll call you back. And my email address, Matthew, Mattthew, at lovelife.com.
And one last question before we close. If you had to give a piece of advice to anyone out there that wants to be in your shoes, Matthew, what would it be?
Someone really wants to be in my shoes, I will give them a pair of my shoes.
Don't they cost a lot though, Mr. Gray? You gonna be like, hold up, you gotta take care of them. Maybe that could be the key.
Well, I've got that thing. I'm a people pleaser. I have to take care of all the strays out there.
I love you. Comedian, I love you. Oh my God. So you take care. Stay on the line for 1 second while we discuss the things. And you guys, Matthew Gray, give him a round of applause. He I'm gonna be honest with you. He has been one of the most tough people to interview, but he's very easygoing, and I know, and I see it in him. So y'all take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.